Hello, welcome to Bildung and Culture. In the series 101 Book to Form a Soul, we propose today an analysis of the Passion of the Soul from René Descartes. René Descartes wrote that book of philosophy. This book is composed of three parts. The main theme of the work is the control of patience. Secondary themes are generosity, the will, the union of soul and body, physiology, primitive patience, compound patience, method. Historical context. Descartes is sometimes seen in France as the founder of a certain philosophical modernity. If we understand modernity in the conceptual sense of the word, to mean something that stands on its own, at odds with the past and tradition, we can recognize that the project of starting all over again from the foundation of the metaphysical meditations appears to be a modern requirement. As we know, Descartes distinguished himself above all in scientific fields. He was interested in mathematics, physics, optics, and physiology. The problem of health and disease appears to be at the heart of the problem of the patients, even though Descartes did not consider the patients themselves to be evil. In fact, provided they are kept under control, he sees them as the source of all the enjoyment and happiness we can derive from life. However, the problem of the patients is not simply linked to medicine. It is linked to the new metaphysics, which refers to three primitive notions: the soul, the body, and the union of soul and body. And it is in this book on the patience of the soul that the union is most fully explained. The patients are the patients of the soul, but they are the patients of a soul united with a body. Why is this book of interest to us today? The problem of self-mastery remains one of the philosophy's most important issues. It touches on the question of freedom. Freedom is often described as autonomy. I am free when I give myself my own law. But this is where the difficulty arises. Who am I? The question of being is thus posed in a massive and obvious way. It should also be noted that the question of I is also present and is far from negligible. We are not simply a thinking mind because we have a body, but we are not simply a body either, because otherwise we will not be able to account for our relationship with ourselves. The question of personal identity posed in this way can be answered as follows. I am the union of a soul and a body. This union is, of course, an intuitive notion that cannot be understood by understanding alone. Understanding assumes that a thing is one and not two. However, the practice of life shows us that the soul is united to a body. It was therefore necessary to find the place of this union by opening some body, and in particular the brain. Descartes discovered in the brain a gland that was unique and not double, like the eyes, for example. This uniqueness in the brain, while the other elements are always double, convinced the philosopher that he had found the place of this union. Spinoza was greatly amused by this Cartesian conclusion and proposed a completely different philosophy of the patient. While Descartes considered there was a union between the soul and the body, he did not admit that there was an equivalence between the two elements. The soul can relate to itself and is free as such. It is better than the body, even if the body is not necessarily devaluated. Patients are not frowned upon. It is their excess that is cause of disgrace and to be proscribed. What is excess? Patience involves us too much into the world. Reason wishes to re-establish a form of distance. Controlling the patients is not based on an opposition between reason and the patient. Descartes distanced himself from the Cornelian heroism or the Stoic omnipotence of the soul. The patient can certainly be controlled by the will, but the will can only act on a body disposed by good habits. Freedom is therefore always situational. For Descartes, there are 6 primitive passions: admiration, love, hatred, desire, joy, and sadness. Spinoza proposed a different methodology for describing what he called affects and affections. Descartes stuck to a more important form of freedom. Of all the passions, the most remarkable is generosity. Generosity, which is also called magnanimity, implies a movement towards others and seems to have an ethical character. It inclines the soul and the will towards a form of mobility and self-sacrifice. A cardinal passion, it is also a virtue that establishes the greatness and freedom of man's passion.